We are back. It is another edition of Colts Corner with myself, Kevin Bowen. To the bullpen we go to welcome back Mark Dykton and his Chicago Bears, a Super Bowl contender. Chicago Bears, is that right?
We are the Bears shuffling crew. Isn't that how the song goes? Yeah. That's looking good so far. I'm optimistic. It's nice. It's a nice feeling to have every once in a while this time of year.
As always, we appreciate you sliding into our studios. We are in a new studio in our new building in downtown Indianapolis, so apologies if we have any audio glitches. Hopefully everything will be as smooth as possible. Mark, we'll get to a lot here on today's podcast in terms of recapping the Colts and Seahawks yesterday. I think it's one of the more confusing games to probably accurately talk about that I can recall for the Colts. It's like you have this Disney Plus movie with Phillip Rivers, but then it's like, oh wait, the Colts are in the thick of a playoff hunt, and losses right now are not good at all for the playoff standings. The Colts really got no help in Week 15 whatsoever. So I don't know. It's just a very difficult time, I guess.
I feel like they haven't gotten help in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Like everything that could go wrong for them as far as playoff hunt has gone not their way.
Yeah, the double whammy of the Chargers winning on Monday Night Football, coming back to beating the Eagles, and then also coming back to beat the Chiefs yesterday wasn't ideal. Like I felt like if you could get isolated with the Chargers record-wise, head-to-head, you have that advantage. But now you're going to need some help here down the stretch. And one of the Chargers games the rest of the way is Houston. Well, that's going to help one of those two teams. I guess you need to root for a tie, frankly, in that game. So a lot to get to. But, as always, Mark, I guess we just start a little bit big picture. And, I think we can isolate the Rivers story. We'll get to that. But just more of, how I've always wanted to treat these Monday podcasts as it is the immediate reaction to the football game we just watched. And the football game is just it's an awful, brutal kick in the you-know-what type of loss from playing ahead for so much of the game, going in one of those hostile road environments, having a lead, throughout. You felt like you could have had one of the wins to remember, and instead it ends in a loss, and a little bit of Kansas City vibes with how the defense couldn't finish there at the end. And you aren't in a position on December 15th to really discuss moral victories. Because in a one way, Mark, you finished yesterday's game on your, let's call Phillip Rivers your third-string quarterback. You're down to your third and fourth offensive tackle. You're down maybe your three best defensive players, easily three of your best defensive players. And you lost on a 56-yard field goal with 15 seconds to go, 18 seconds to go, in one of the most hostile environments against one of the best teams in the NFC.
And you held them out of the end zone the entire game.
Right.
Which is just, I would have signed up for that 10 times out of 10.
So, you want to be proud of that effort. It's very impressive, and it's, again, borderline would have been one of the greatest wins that I've seen in quite some time. But when you've lost 5 of 6, now 4 in a row, 1 win since Halloween, the playoff standings look as they do, it's just hard to really play up the moral victory sort of meter here. And probably some of it has to do with also history recently with this franchise. This is not the plucky rookie quarterback going on the road and having this fun 300-yard 3-touchdown day, and you've got bright hopes for the future, or this you've had all this great playoff success and you're dealing with all these injuries, and yet you come up just short, but yet you're still in great playoff standing. None of that, unfortunately, is true given this makeup. So I think that's what makes this a bit challenging here in trying to dissect it all. Hell, when the Colts were up 13-6 at halftime yesterday, I felt like they were up 100-0.
Yeah.
It felt like when Rivers threw that touchdown, it should count as 3 touchdowns. I mean, it kind of felt that way, at least to me. And you executed so much of your blueprint of playing ball control and your defense making some plays. And sure, I thought Seattle played with some shackles on them at times too, just with some penalties. And, Jackson Smith and Jigba had a really rare drop and all of that. But
when he threw that touchdown pass, I'm like, are they going to do this thing? Is that going to happen?
Yeah.
That's what I felt like.
It had a feel of it deserved to be more than just 6 points. It just kind of had that feel to it. So, Mark, unless you got any kind of just overarching thoughts, feel free to get into what I didn't like and what I liked.
Well, like I said, I mean, Phillip Rivers, I was trying to think of like a grade to give him, because I'm like, how are we grading this? Are you grading it on he's a guy who's coming out of retirement after 5 years away from the league? Because if that's the case, I would give him like a B minus, a B. Like, 'cause that was pretty awesome. I mean, I don't know what I really would have expected from anybody else. So I would say he's in the B range, maybe an A for given everything he's going through. As far as the starting quarterback is concerned, D. Probably, if we're looking at that, like this is a team that's in the playoff hunt and fighting for their playoff lives, and that was the effort you put out there. And I know you relied more on Jonathan Taylor, which is what you should have been doing, but it's so one-dimensional now, where you just know that it's Jonathan Taylor, and then you hope for a third down and short that you can get a quick conversion to Alec Pierce or Josh Downs or something like that.
Yeah, and I guess let's just go ahead and dive into it, because the first thing I didn't like, and again, we will evaluate this. I'll get to Phillip Rivers as an individual here in just a second, Mark, and probably more of the story, like just him putting on an NFL helmet and playing in the game. But let's just focus on the offense. It was a dinosaur offense.
Mm-hmm.
It was archaic. So many numbers would back that up, from 3.7 yards per play, 4.4 yards per pass attempt, 215 total yards. No matter how you slice any of those numbers, it's some of the worst either this franchise has had in quite a while, even some lows in the NFL this season, just all of it. So given the state of your team right now, is it a bit understandable? Sure. But again, evaluating it from an NFL sense, it's just impossible to sustain or live with this offense. It's what? You run it on first down, you run it on second down, and you hope the lofted ball on 3rd and 4 hangs in the air as minimal amount as possible.
It was like watching the offensive, like when you go to when you went to the movie theater back in the day, and it was like they'd give you the news, like, well, here we go. The Stanford Bulldogs are out on the field, and look at that throw, a forward pass. How spectacular! That's how that was for a little bit.
You should be a voiceover, frankly, for that. So yeah, it was a tough watch.
Yeah,
like if you separated yourself from the Rivers nostalgia, it was a very tough offensive watch. Only 2 plays over 15 yards for the whole game. If you look at like Rivers' route tree, or passing tree is probably the better way to put it. Just 2 of 8 on throws over 10 yards. So a lot of it, I guess, I expected. I expected the ball to come out rapid fire. I thought Josh Downs and Tyler Warren would be beneficiaries from it. Amir Abdullah gave me some Nyheim Hines 2020 vibes, just in how much he was used. 9 touches and 14 snaps for him.
I thought that was a nice change of pace that I'm surprised the Colts haven't leaned on a little bit more this season.
And again, that's Rivers. Yeah. I mean, Hines led you in catches back in 2020, so I probably should have paid a little bit more attention to that. As expected, Alec Pierce was totally neutered, and that is a huge issue. That's probably the biggest offensive issue, is just you are taking away Pierce. And I think Pierce has earned the right where he is so damn competitive in trying to make catches. You just have to pepper targets for him, because he inevitably is going to draw a flag or 2 every game. There was a play, we brought this up on our morning show today. There was a play down the near sideline where Rashid Shaheed probably was interfered with, but he gave such a half-assed effort at making a play of the ball, the ref didn't throw the flag. Whereas Pierce makes such efforts at getting to the ball, more often than not, the ref's probably like, oh boy, that 50-50 flag turned to 70-30. And so I just think you have to find a way to get Pierce going. I know Shane said after the game, hey, with the week of practice, I fully expect them to start Rivers again, just to get that out of the way. But with the week, another week of prep time, our offense will open up more. And I'm just like, where? Like, is he getting a, Rowan Gardner arm all of a sudden? And like, there's going to be more there.
Alec Pierce from 15 yards out is going to be the new deep threat. That is what it's going to be.
I just, like, when he threw the first ball of the game, the jump ball to Jonathan Taylor down the sideline, I'm like, wait, what?
Oh, boy.
what is that? So, I would have started Riley Leonard. And I get that we're splitting hairs to a degree, Mark, and maybe the end result still would have been 16 points. Maybe you would have had another turnover or 2 that would have set up the defense in short fields, and that would have made a bigger margin. But I just think this general offense, Army, Navy, is it creates a ceiling that you will get exposed over the course of 17 weeks. And I get there's only 4 left. But again, it's the worst yards per play number of the season by far. It would have been the worst of Rivers in 2020. Like, how is that sustainable?
Right.
To me,
in a playoff hunt, like you're fighting for playoff lives, and this is the offense you're throwing out there the next 3 weeks.
I get that you've created probably a higher floor by going Rivers over Leonard. I think that's certainly true. But I don't, like, your team was pretty darn good in every other area yesterday, and it still wasn't enough. Like, they probably aren't going to be that good in those other areas again. I just think your offense has to have a little bit more of a ceiling. And I get that you might risk it the other way. It might get a little uglier, but whether that's Leonard's legs or throwing it a little bit down the field, not that Leonard's some great deep ball thrower, but at least something of, his deep ball that Jordan faced on in the first round of the playoffs last year to seal the game against IU. If that ball goes to Pierce, at least Pierce can run underneath it and make a play. I don't know if Rivers is getting that ball there. No. I half jokingly, half serious said to you earlier, would the Hail Mary have needed a cutoff man yesterday?
Yeah, I mean,
or like a trampoline at the 20 to like bounce the ball into the end zone. It's just, again, to me, I would go with Leonard. I'm probably splitting hairs here. It might be more volatile.
I think with at least Riley Leonard, though, you're at least keeping the defense honest as far as could it be a run pass option every single play.
Right.
With Rivers, that ain't the truth. Like, that's not happening. It's going to be a handoff to Jonathan Taylor, or it's going to be a quick pass out somewhere. But he's not running anybody. He's not scaring anybody with his legs. So Riley Leonard at least offers that aspect to it. Arm strength wise, I don't know what you're getting in particular, but at this point, you're just throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks. So I'd be fine with Riley Leonard, but they've already kind of timed themselves to Phillip Rivers, I feel like. You don't make that move without thinking that you're going to start him the rest of the way, barring injury.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to put it. I'd also say this. I think you are also neutering a bit of Jonathan Taylor in that you just don't even have to
stack the box.
Think at all. A, stack the box, and B, no respect for the quarterback's legs. So, yeah, that's where I would kind of side with it. But yeah, I think that kind of covers everything offensively. I know it's probably a poor analogy, but there's a little bit of like I'm watching Tiger Woods play golf currently
in 2025,
right? With this offensive, like you might have 3 or 4 good holes, and it might be kind of cool to like see the fist bump that doesn't have as much violence as it did 25 years ago. But in reality, that he's going to withdraw in the second round.
I feel like, it was like a nostalgic thing, like seeing all the stuff coming out pregame where you're like, there's the 17 jersey hanging in the locker. There he is running out of the tunnel. This is actually happening. This is pretty cool. And then you saw the game like, oh yeah, he's 44 years old and he's been out of the league for 5 years. Now that reminds me of
and we'll get
what's the situation.
One thing I did like, and I'll save probably all the other Rivers stuff. So let's go ahead and move on, Mark. But
sure.
Like, I'll get into more of the Rivers playing an NFL football game yesterday here in just a second.
All right, what you did like, Kev, was 58 minutes of defense from the Colts.
I mean, that was a pretty darn good defensive effort. You have to factor in, of course, no Buckner, no Gardner, and no Ward. I mean, I thought the run defense was really good. 2 of 13 on the money down. That obviously is extraordinary. The amount of playmaking you got in the backfield from frontline dudes, like defensive linemen, linebackers. Like
Latu, I thought, had a pretty good game.
Right, Latu had arguably his finest half as a pro. So, all of that, I think you want to and you should commend. I mean, were you aided by some drops and some penalties? Sure, but still, I thought you did a nice job of just kind of naturally getting off the field. That was actually, I think, the first game all season they didn't have a turnover. But yet we're still able to create field position, which I thought was really key. Keeping your offense out of having to move, 80, 90 yards on some of those drives. I think you won the field position by 15 yards. So, you did a lot of the blueprint that was necessary. So, Lou Anarumo, schematically, those first 58 minutes, first 59 minutes, however you want to look at it, really, really good. So, I would say that was probably the other thing that I liked, but finishing.
Right.
It's just... And I guess to get into the full sequence, Mark, I think it starts with a kickoff. I think that kickoff has to be squibbed down the middle. If you look at what Jason Myers did, squibbing it down the middle, I think it took 7 seconds to get the ball to the 30. Whereas the Colts, by not squibbing it, it took 5 seconds and Seattle got the ball to the 37. Longer return, shorter amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
Not ideal, of course. When you're in that situation late with no timeouts, and by the way, and I saw that Mike McDonald did this, he gave a game ball to his analytics guy. Mike McDonald taking those timeouts was so critical in them even having that amount of time. You know, a lot of coaches, I think, would wait till they got into actual field goal range. And McDonald said after the game, he goes, I was surprised they kicked it there. And I know we got a Twitter question about the 4th down, so we'll probably save it for that. But, you know, they didn't think that groupie was going to kick it from 60 there. So that's something that definitely stood out. So I think it starts the kickoff. And then once you're playing defense there with no timeouts, I think you have to adopt one of two theories. One is bring the bleep in house and make Sam Darnold deliver a big-time ball, 2nd or 3rd level, under duress. Or, with no timeouts, I can actually, and I know a lot of people would disagree with me on this, I can listen to drop 8 into coverage. Because with 0 timeouts, if you can tackle them twice in bounds and you don't give up 15, 20-yard gains on those plays, you can win the game right there.
Yeah.
Or
they're going to do a fire drill and get the hell out there.
Fire drill from 65 or a Hail Mary situation. Like, that to me is two schools of thought. Now, you have to fully embrace one or the other. You can't just half-ass it. And if you go back and you watch the first play, he's got Kwity Paye kind of chipping Jackson Smith and Jigba. So, you know, maybe it took JSN out of the play, but like now, which insert your Kwity joke here, but like it kind of takes him out of the rush, and then you're kind of bringing 4, and then Jermaine Pratt's got the running back out of the backfield, and it's like he's guarding him like really, really close, where I'm thinking to myself, I know it sounds weird in that situation. You want that running back to catch the ball. Like you want the checkdowns there, and if you can make the tackle, of course, that's great. But then it allowed, you know, with not a big pass rush, you really only had 5 or 6 committed to coverage, and they're going to win against these corners. And Shaheed obviously won against them. So that's how I kind of view the final drive. On the second play, you actually brought both safeties. They brought Nick Cross and Bynum from the same side of the field. Darnold went opposite them to Shaheed there to get into range. So I just, again, to me, it starts with the kickoff, and then I think you do get to how you want to approach it defensively. Are you full throttle, or are you dink and dunk? And I think you have got to just be all in on one of those two there.
Yeah, I said even before the 2-minute drill, I was like, win or lose, the defense has had an incredible day, because I think we were all heading into the game thought like 38-something. We were expecting that Seattle offense just feast. And I thought they played a hell of a game and effort and everything like that. So, yes, they ended up losing the game at the end. They didn't let them get in the end zone, but it's just one of those things where they couldn't hold them any longer. And Seattle was the better team, and it showed on that final drive. So, still a hell of an effort by the defense despite the end result. Moving on, you said Blake Grupe was one of the things you liked. The tiny but mighty kicker.
Tiny but mighty kicker. Boy, Matty Bones' reaction when he trotted out there, you know, it's like taking the mushroom but turning it the other way in a little Mario.
On the Mario.
Yeah, in a little Mario series. But, you know, one thing about Grupe, I think I mentioned this after he kicked in the indoor facility a couple weeks back, his first day. There is some pop to his leg.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is not watching Michael Badgley. And, you know, his career long is 57, so you knew some of that. And one thing, which, again, insert your joke here, but, like, he's got some swagger that has struck people in that building. Like, damn, he's got a little cockiness to him, which, again, kicker is one of those weird positions where, you know, you don't want to talk to him, you don't want to, you know, have any bit of that, but I would think some swagger like that would be key for you. And just his entire day, Mark, you know, he obviously makes extra point, but 42, 54, 60, in that environment.
They weren't shy about setting him out there, which was interesting.
No, and in that environment, too. So, yeah, I think those are all just major compliment to what he gave you.
I mean, because Badgley, if he was still there, there's no way they're trotting him out there for those.
No chance in the world. And, you know, Taylor, and again, we'll get to the 4th and 3. I think we had a Twitter question on it. But, you know, when they had the 3rd and 7, as soon as they gained any yards, I thought, I think they're going to kick this. Like, I think they trust Grupe or think he has that ability to him. And let's be honest, that 60-yarder made it by a couple yards, too. So, Yeah, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that because he definitely deserved it.
Rivers' effort was another thing he liked yesterday.
This is where we get into the story. And you and I are combined have, 6 kids under 8?
Uh-huh.
So we are frequent Disney Plus watchers. And I say this to you in all seriousness. Phillip Rivers playing in an NFL game is like me dialing up a Disney Plus movie on a Friday night. Like, we had a listener say, is Michael Orr now going to play offensive tackle for the Colts next week with their injury situation? I'm like, well, are you half serious or are you half joking?
You never know. Anything is possible.
It's what Rivers is doing is inspiring. It's wild. It's the talk of the town. The awkward celebration after the touchdown that you talked about, the pregame clip that you talked about of him with the play sheet and getting on the first bus at, whatever, the 9 a.m. local time bus. The St. Michael's, pizza watch party.
That was cool.
I've been emailing back and forth. I think we're going to try to get their AD on our radio show. Like,
him in the post-press conference getting emotional.
Exactly.
That was awesome to see.
That viral clip, like, all of it is so freaking cool and unique.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a lot cooler if it's not your own team. I guess is probably where I would side on that. And that's where I think today is difficult for us. It's like, are we grading a 44-year-old dude that I said was Tim Allen trying to save Christmas? Are we grading him coming off the couch? Because if we are, he gets an A freaking plus.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
A plus. Or are we grading him as NFL quarterback? Because if we're grading him NFL quarterback, that offense gives like a D plus effort for what they did
hairs
yesterday. So, I think that aspect to it is what makes it just really, really challenging. Is you don't fully realize, how to kind of view it. Are we grading this more of a, it's the movie, or are we grading this more of a, do we have to put our hat on because the Colts are one game out of the playoffs and you have to like view it in that light because they need wins badly. But again, his effort, I mean, it's an unbelievable story. It's unbelievable what he is attempting to do, what he did. It's funny to watch. It's amazing to watch. After watching Steph Curry throw in the warm-up shot the other night, can you imagine playing Phillip Rivers and Steph Curry in a game of cornhole?
Oh, my God. I know. That is something I would actually sign up for to actually watch. I said out loud to Ashley while we were watching the game, I was like, I think the Seattle kicker's going to miss it. I think he's going to miss it. We're going to get the Hallmark movie where he's running out to midfield and maybe Shane Steichen tries to lift him up on his shoulders or something like that.
That scene?
Oh, I was waiting for the Gatorade bath. I was waiting for it all.
Boy, Jason Myers, does he have the ideal little baby cut with his field goal?
I know. I was like, you stole that from us. All we wanted was that feeling. You took it away from us.
And so that's where it's just, again, so much of this is absolutely wild. And so I say this in all seriousness, I mean a major, major hat tip to the effort of Phillip Rivers and all of that. And like, being comfortable in his own skin, too. Mm-hmm. I've got to get the ball out rapidly quick. I don't think he ever tried to push it too much in any way, shape, or form. I think he totally knows exactly who he is, and he's obviously very comfortable in that. But you are trying to win an NFL game.
Yeah. Still hat tip to him, though.
Yeah.
Are you ready to get into Twitter questions?
Yeah.
All right, Flippin starts us off. He said, why would Lou go zone prevent on the last drive? Crazy move.
Okay, so again, this is where we got into here. I am a fan of you fully embrace one or the other. And I probably side with the bring the house, make Darnold, try and beat you vertically. Leaving anybody in man coverage on Jackson Smith and Jigba, considering he had gone over 100 yards on you, probably sounds ludicrous. I'm thinking back to, as a Notre Dame fan, watching Jeremiah Smith in man coverage on the play of the game, ice the game, when Notre Dame tried to bring the house, but they didn't bring it all the way. They left somebody to, potentially spy Will Howard, and that's where you kind of get into those. Just are you doing it or are you not doing it? Are you gonna go talk to that girl over there? Or are you not gonna do it? Like,
get it over with.
You might
already.
as well just walk home and call it a night, or you might as well, what's the worst you can say? No. So
A Christmas story. Get out there, smartass, and do it.
So that's where I can hear if you drop 8 and you force everything underneath, if Darnold has one check down, and let's just play this out. The kickoff happened at 47, so they took over at 42, right? If he checks it down, let's say that's 36. If he checks down for 8 yards, now they're at the 45, their own 45. That play's going to take 8 seconds to run. Let's call it another 10 seconds to get up there and do the spike. Okay, now 42 seconds is down to 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. If they do that another 8 yards and it takes another 18 seconds, I mean, now it's down to 12 seconds in the game. And that's where you can guard the sideline at that point. That's where you can, really say, hey, those up people, those up corners, they're our sideline guys. And if they want to attempt a Hail Mary, first off, you're probably not going to, but we'll have that covered. And obviously once the play starts, you can see them try to go for the Hail Mary there because, that's where tackling guys in bounds. We see it almost every week in the NFL, and you see it a lot for anybody that goes out to training camp practices from the defense. When they make tackles, everybody's cranking that clock on the sideline. Everyone's reacting in a very demonstrative manner because they know how critical that is. Mm-hmm. When you get into those 2-minute situations, especially with no timeouts, when you can do that, it saves you so much. So, flipping, I can definitely hear you here. I would say more than it. It's just one player make a play.
Yeah, that's all you needed.
Right.
All right, moving on to Ben. He says it's 4th and 3 with 50-some seconds left. The Colts have 2 timeouts. It's a 60-yard field goal. In that moment, before Blake Grupe would hit that kick, isn't JT or Pitt converting 4th and 3 just as likely as the 60-yard field goal? Shouldn't the Colts have taken the shot to get the first down, especially considering how the Seahawks had started moving the ball more? I like Steichen a lot, but I feel like he gets outgamed on the situations all the time.
What do you think? You think they should have gone for the 4th down there? Foregone the 60-yarder. Go for the 4th and 3. The thought there, obviously, is you now have the ball for the rest of the game. And Grupe would try to make obviously, you need to get the 4th and 3, but then Grupe would try to make whatever, 50-some yarder.
Again, not knowing that Grupe had that leg in him. When I saw him trot out there, I'm like, they're trying to draw an offsides or something. They're not going to hike this ball, are they? And then sure enough, they did. I would have probably leaned towards that, a Jonathan Taylor or a Michael Pittman situation if you could have gotten to it. Even still, because I feel like the 60-yard attempt, while it's great that he made it, that also seems like a desperation, like last second, like this is for the game winner. We have to do this. We have no other option. Whereas in the 4th and 3, you had some options there. So I would have probably opted to go for it as opposed to go for the 60-yard field goal. But that's just me.
Yeah, again, I remember saying to Maddie on 3rd and 7, any yards here, I think they'll trot Grupe out. If you play the percentages, Grupe from 60 yards, I don't know. Let's call it a 35% chance to make it. The 4th and 3 is probably a coin flip, especially with Rivers. And then you still have to do one more action. It's not like you just that's not the 3rd down where you go, or the 4th down where you go for it and you have the lead and now you're just taking kneel downs. Mm-hmm. You still have to do one more thing.
Right.
And I think that's where my hesitancy comes into play. I definitely hear you out, Ben, on it. But there is still another coin flip that you have to do. So I that's where I don't think it's like a slam dunk lock after that. Grupe from 50 yards? With how Grupe kicked it yesterday, you obviously feel a lot better about it than you would have maybe going into that. So Again, I can listen to it. I would say I'm not strongly convinced. Some of these things I have more conviction on. I can hear you out on going for the 4th and 3. And that was a Rivers check, by the way, on 3rd down. Steichen said that after the game. That was a Rivers check to go to the run there with a lighter box. So, boy, can't you just defend the final 47 seconds better?
I know.
And I realize that the touchback rule has changed, but Seattle executed that perfectly with what Myers did. Now, obviously the Colts weren't going to get into Hail Mary range with Phillip Rivers, but they executed that really, really well. That would have been the first step in that direction. So I don't know. People brought up the Broncos game. I don't think it's exactly apples to apples, but I can hear people out that would want to go for the 4th and 3 there.
All right, Isaac, probably feeling like a way a lot of us watching the Colts lately have been going. He says, we went from 7-1 to 8-6. This is an all-time meltdown, and it's primarily been on coaching, in my opinion. We need a culture change. Fans are fed up with Steichen. How much longer until he's gone?
Yeah, Isaac. I guess to answer that question and then provide some, a little bit more thought on it. I don't have a great feel in exactly what the Colts will do, but I'll say this: I don't get the vibe that anyone is nervous. Mm-mm. I don't get the vibe that they think that they're on a hot seat, even compared to last year. I think last year you had more uncertainty, whereas I don't. And maybe you built up all the winning. You're like, wait, there's no way I could now go from Coach of the Year to gone. Right. Maybe that's a little bit of it. And I want to be clear, just in general, in talking about yesterday's game. Like we had a question earlier, Mark, from our show of, hey, is the Phillip Rivers decision going to be the nail in the Shane Steichen coffin, a la the Carson Wentz decision for Frank Reich? I don't think these are apples to apples.
No, I don't either.
Whenever the Shane Steichen, Chris Ballard era comes to an end, slap me on the wrist if I bring up this Seattle game. Like, I think they should have started Riley Leonard? I do. Do I think it's splitting hairs? I probably do. Yeah. Like, I don't. You're down to your third string quarterback. It's late in the season. If you really want to nitpick hindsight's 2020, if you felt this bad about Riley Leonard, as soon as Daniel Jones cracks that fibula, you probably should have explored the backup market a little bit more, given Anthony Richardson's stats.
Right, and I was going to say, it's not like Anthony Richardson was healthy and you're choosing Phillip Rivers over him. You're not making that drastic of a decision. It's that you had basically no other options except for Riley Leonard or Brett Rippon, and you're like, well, let me go with the guy that's running my offense in high school that I have a relationship with.
Correct. So I can't break it down into this again massive. Oh my gosh, they should be criticized like none other, and rip them. Like again, you're on your third string QB. Now there is a bigger picture element to it of Mark, if you and I had this conversation on August 15th, and I said to you, Chris Ballard will be getting I guess it'd be a 10th year, and Shane Steichen will get a 4th year, you will have assumed the season resulted in what? Like if I said everybody's going to come back, 2025 season's going to play out, you would have thought what would have been done this season.
Strides have been made in the right direction. You're seeing fruits of the labor finally coming to fruition, and you're like, wow, okay, they're starting to figure it out. Or like they made a wild card spot, or they won the division. Something like that must have happened.
Yeah, and that's to me, if I asked you that again on August 15th, I would have said, oh, the division title streak is over. Mm-hmm. Or drought, I should say. The division title drought is over. Oh, they made the playoffs. That's over.
Something.
Oh, they won a playoff game. Like one of those boxes. And
they won at Jacksonville.
Well, yeah, right. I guess week 1 is really the only one right now that appears to be crossed off the list. One of those things I guess would have been met.
You're right.
Or checked. Whereas to Isaac's question, we're currently looking at it as, what was the 2025 Colts season? Mm-hmm. Well, none of those boxes appear to be getting checked, and instead it'll be the biggest collapse in NFL history. Like,
it is wild.
That's kind of where it's difficult for me to say, wait a minute, and everybody's back?
I know.
Like that is wild. Like if I would have told you on August 15th, hey, this season's going to play out. It's going to be the biggest collapse the NFL's seen in over a decade. And they're going to run it back. I'll be like, wait, what? And look, are there some injuries that are definitely going against them here late in the season? Yes. They also were out of the playoffs when Daniel Jones tore his Achilles. And there's a little bit of is this season the most egregious, damning thing on the Ballard-Steichen resume? No. But at some point, how much longer do you play the excuse meter? Have we transitioned from the Andrew Luck retirement to now injuries happen? And if you want to see the poster child of a team that overcomes injuries, look at the team you're facing a week from tonight.
Yeah.
San Francisco with Purdy starting, 6 games all year, and Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, and their wide receiver position with Ayuk, and losing their top 15 draft pick, all of it. So again, I'll share with you what I think right now. I don't get the vibe that anyone is particularly on edge. And now we just have to sit here and how does Carly Ursay Gordon react?
Right. And
which we don't know.
And I always thought this was going to be a year in transition to begin with, because obviously the passing of Jim Irsay, the daughters just took over. Okay, it was too late to do anything then. So the season has played out. You started 7-1. Now you're seeing that they are falling back to earth quite spectacularly. But you also signed off that Chris Ballard could send off your next 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner. So there has to be some comfort level that if he was truly on the hot seat, why would you give him the keys to say, yeah, you can go ahead and make that move? I mean,
exactly. Trust me.
And you're trusting Shane Steichen to get the best out of these guys. And so I'm with you where it's like, if there were some warning signs, I thought it was coming at the end of this year, but then they started off 7-1 and then they send off 2 picks to Sauce Gardner. So I'm like, okay, well, at that point, you're like, okay, everybody's coming back. This is finally going in the right direction. We're starting to see some stuff happen. Daniel Jones seemed to have figured it out. And now the wheels have fallen completely off. And now you're like, well, now what do we do? Because I don't know who the starting quarterback in 2026 is going to be. And I don't know what coach or GM candidate is coming in here with no first-round picks in the next 2 years and saying, yeah, I can fix that.
Right.
Give me a shot.
And how does Carly view all of this?
Right.
Did she view the offseason like, oh, I need to get ready for a change? And then all of a sudden they have the first 2 months. She's like, oh, we don't need to do that anymore. Now it's like, oh, wait, am I behind the 8 ball? And having to restart that thinking? Or like, should you always be prepared when you're a person in that sort of position in the NFL? And, how does she want to really make her stamp on the organization? Or does she sit here and say, oh, boy, I don't know if I'm ready for that right now? Again, all these thoughts have run through my head about, where they're at right now. And, again, we got into this debate on our show this morning, Mark, and I know it's something that we talked about last week on the pod, but like how much should these final 4 games with Phillip Rivers matter? Like if you're comparing a 4-game Rivers sample size to 8 years and 3 months of Chris Ballard, and in Shane's case, whatever it would be, 2 years and 3 months, or like that to me is where I don't think it really should matter, but I also am like, it is a bottom line business. It comes down to wins, losses, division titles, playoff appearances, playoff wins. I mean, that's as much as we decipher it all, that's what it comes down to. And that's why yesterday stings so much, because you just can't, you're not in a position of, I'm trying to think who's in a really good position right now. You're not in New England,
Denver,
right, where you have a multi-divisional game lead and you're decimated injury-wise. I mean, the Colts were down 6 of their 10, 12 most important players yesterday, and yet all that played out. So, yeah.
It sucks. It really does. All right, BK rounds us out with Twitter questions when he says, when was the last time Ballard's defense closed out a game?
Boy, that's a good question. I mean, I definitely remember Epicom last year. I think it was last year, right? Or did he tear his Achilles? I'm trying to think of the Baker Mayfield game whenever they played here, where Mayfield got hurt early in the game. Trask had to come in. They kind of botched a goal line, but I remember Epicom beating Tristan Wirfs. But it's just, I know the Arizona game, you were definitely fortunate to get a call go your way in that one. But man, Kwity Paye's just been so quiet. And no tackles for Locke, I believe, as a team in the second half. I think he had all 5 in the first half. So, yeah, that's probably BK's question here is probably one of the more damning elements, I think, of the Ballard era. Pass rush, defense, that entire unit, which, again, so much of it was great yesterday. And, yeah, again, if yesterday was a movie, Mark, it was a movie you walk out of the theater and tell your friends to go see. Right?
Yeah.
That was a fun movie. You'll enjoy it. Cool story. Kind of a quirky quarterback. He's got kind of a funny twang and doesn't really cuss.
It's kid friendly, doesn't swear. It's
right.
PG.
Exactly. Exactly. Bring the entire household. But if
your kid's going to start saying "dad gummit" every time,
right? Wait, what did he say on the playground today? Oh, dad gummit. Okay, where did he learn that? Oh, well,
a Disney movie.
But if you're trying to win in the National Football League,
it's a very sour ending.
Yeah.
Very sour ending. So,
Yeah, like I said, I mean, you saw the high of highs when you started 7-1, and you're like, wow, the Colts, it's all working. This is what we've been waiting for. And boy, that NFL can turn on a dime, because now you're seeing the other side and you're just like, what are we doing? We're back to square one again. Who's our quarterback? We have no first round picks. Are the GM and the head coach going to stick around? What is this defense that's happening in the last 2 minutes? It's disgusting. It's a disgusting feeling, and I feel for Colts fans and everything, because they've been through the ringer the last decade plus, and doesn't seem like that's changing anytime soon, because there's a lot of questions here. I'm sure you're getting fielded those questions now, are like, do they try to recoup some first-round picks and trade guys like Jonathan Taylor or DeForest Buckner and all that stuff? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know the answer right now. I don't think the Colts know the answer right now. You got to play these games out and see what happens, but something has to be done, and I'm not sure exactly what that's going to be.
Mark Dykton, as always, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mark's Bears in great position there in the NFC, and we will be back on Thursday this week, right? Monday night game. So, yeah, Colts are pushing everything back a day. Inevitably, I think we'll get some Anthony Richardson questions. I have always been under the impression not to expect his return imminently. I think, like last week, I think I put out a video, or at least a picture, that he was out at practice, and the vibe I got from people was like, oh, wow, there he is. Like, I didn't know he was coming out to practice today.
It's like Bigfoot coming out through the woods. Like, whoa,
like one of
what the heck?
Not something that they'd been planning for, I guess, or necessarily expecting. So, I mean, unless things have changed in a hurry, my expectation is it'll be Phillip Rivers starting on Monday nights. Mark Dykton, thank you.
Thank you.
We're signing off. Colts Corner with Kevin Bowen.